millions of people have made a resolution to lose weight in 2022. But my question is, how many are already feeling frustrated, defeated, like a failure? You know it's happening and it's only January 7th. Today's episode is a recording of a Facebook Live I did earlier this week with Courtney Townley. Courtney's approach to health is so different from the gimmicks and absolute BS marketed to us, especially this time of year. Trust me, her words will help you feel empowered, inspired, and motivated to take real, intentional action in making 2022 your healthiest year yet. Happy New Year. This is the Grown-Ass Woman's Guide. I'm your host and guide, Jackie McDougall. Menopause is unavoidable, but suffering? Yeah, that's optional. Kindra is redefining menopause with science-backed products, education, and my favorite thing, community. Whether you're wondering if you're at the early stages of perimenopause or you have already been there, done that, Kindra is committed to helping us all be the best versions of ourselves.
When you have simple things that can help you take care of yourself, that make you a better you, because that's really what we're ultimately all after, why not take advantage of those?
Get 20% off site-wide at ourkindra.com with promo code GAW20. That's ourkindra.com, promo code GAW20.
I have had you on the podcast. I was going to go back and count how many times. So many times.
So many times. I think it's been 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't know.
Maybe
it's been 5.
A lot. Yeah. So I will link to all of those episodes after we're done here live, because every single one of them was gold. I feel like I promise people, something totally different, something they haven't heard. And, who doesn't promise that? But your message this time of year is so different, and any time of year is so different from what's out there. And so I want to dive into that. But first, let's give you a quick little intro. And like I said, I'll link to the podcast episode so you can get to know Courtney a little bit more. But Courtney is the host of the amazing Grace and Grit podcast, which I love so much in that podcast. And you also you're the head, the lead, the founder of the Rumble and Rise community, where women are making badass life changes every single day.
Yeah, it's super exciting. It's super exciting to see women take charge, right? And take ownership of their process and the direction they want to go. And that's really what that space is all about.
Yeah. And so if someone is watching right now and their goal this year is to lose weight, like, all right, cool. This is not an anti-weight loss conversation.
Right.
It's just that we're so focused on the scale, on the size, on so many things that they have nothing to do with our actual health, right?
Yeah.
And so can you get into the mindset a little bit of what a woman like myself or those listening might be rumbling with right now in the new year?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us have been conditioned when we think about health to focus exclusively on weight loss.
Yeah.
Right? That it's like the big thing that we should all be focusing on no matter where we are with our physiology. And the thing with weight loss is it's an outcome, and outcomes are achieved by really who we're being in the world. Right? So it's not really, and this sounds crazy, but I do encourage clients to set goals. Some of my clients do have weight loss goals, but a lot of my clients have goals that have nothing to do with weight loss. And I always tell them it's important to set the goal so you know the general direction you want to head, right? But to me, weight loss is like a mile marker along the direction to change.
Right.
So what is weight loss really going to afford you? So when people set a goal, I always remind them that it's not the outcome that they're really seeking. It's something they want to feel that they're not currently feeling.
Right.
So when it comes to weight loss, for a lot of women, that might be, I want to feel more confident. I want to feel more at peace in my body, right? I want to feel like I'm following through with the things I tell myself I'm going to do. Right. And then if we engage with those things, the outcome may be weight loss, right? But the emotion that we're trying to generate by pursuing outcomes is really available to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the big spin, because we often convince ourselves that I have to achieve something in order to feel more of that thing.
Yes.
But I want you to think about, like, why do you feel different when you lose weight? And when I say feel different, I mean emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel emotionally different when you reach a weight loss goal? You feel emotionally different because you're thinking about yourself differently.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about what you can accomplish differently. So your thoughts have changed tremendously.
Right.
And you have the capacity right now in this very moment to change the way you're thinking about yourself. And I would argue that if you do that work first, you do the inner work of managing your mental landscape and learning some emotional agility,
Mm-hmm.
you are so much more likely to stay the course to move in the direction that you want to go.
Right.
So it's almost like the exact opposite of what most of us have been trained to do, which is achieve the outcome and then I'll feel the thing.
That's exactly right. And then what happens to those who achieve the thing and they haven't done the emotional work? And then what happens? They gain back. I'll speak for myself. I've been there. And you're like, woo, I weigh 130 pounds. Like, life is good for a half a second. And then I realize all of the feelings that I've had about myself come back. They're like, you're full of crap. You're still this, or whatever's happening in your life. And then it's not a long-term plan. And I would rather be the size I am right now for the rest of my life and go through the emotional health journey than to be 130 pounds and hate myself thin once again.
Yeah. Well, think about how a lot of people achieve weight loss is they follow a list of rules and regulations that was written by somebody else because it worked for somebody else's life. Maybe it worked for a lot of other people's life. They follow that list of rules and regulations, which is really just actions. You're taking a lot of action. And please don't hear me saying that action isn't important. Of course it is, right? Without action, like, knowledge is meaningless. So we need to take action. But what inspires us to take action? The way we think about ourselves.
Right.
The way we feel about ourselves or the thing that we're trying to engage with. That's what inspires us to either move forward or paralyzes us to take action. So I feel like mainstream diet and fitness culture is all about the action piece, but they're missing the pieces that come prior to that, which is how you're thinking, what the emotion is you're generating. So you will take action, not just for a few weeks or a few months, but over the long term.
Yeah.
And the other piece of it is recognizing that as human beings, we're so multifaceted, right? We're not just physical beings. We have a mental capacity. We have an emotional capacity. We're in relationship with everything around us. We're in relationship with our environment, with other people. And so it's not enough to just focus on our physical being.
Yeah.
Right? We have to focus on how these measures that we're committing to fit into the wholeness of our life. And I'll tell you, like, I've done some really extreme programs in my lifetime, because that's how we learn, right? We learn what really doesn't work.
What, you mean cabbage soup diet is not sustainable?
Yeah. And at my leanest weight, my lowest body fat, like my best physical appearance, my life was in shambles. Because you know what? I was spending every hour of every day focusing on that. And it was costing me relationships. I wasn't at all paying attention to mental health. I was angry all the time. So I wasn't learning how to be healthy. I was learning how to appear healthy.
Right. That's really interesting. And one of the things that you say regularly, like every episode that you have been on, it's not about what you do. It's about why you do it. And that sits with me all the time in that, like, if somebody's eating, I don't know, Brussels sprouts, and take two women, right, who are both eating Brussels sprouts. One of them's eating it because she likes, I love Brussels sprouts. But another's eating it because she's quote unquote punishing herself. And like, that's the restriction is only the Brussels sprouts. It's all about why we're doing the action. Isn't that what you teach every day?
Absolutely. Like, one of my probably most repeated questions to my community and my clients is always, do you like your reasons? So when a client comes to me and says, gosh, you know what? I stayed up like until midnight last night and I did not get enough sleep. And today was a little disjointed because I was chemically off, which makes sense. And I can see that they're beating themselves up, right, about going to bed late.
Yeah.
And so we just do some investigating, like, why did you go to bed late? Well, my best friend was in town who I haven't seen in 10 years. Oh, well, that's interesting. Do you like your reasons for staying up late last night? Yep. Okay, so let's let all of that, like all of the guilt and the shame and all of it go. And even if you didn't like your reasons, like let's just say you stayed up late because you were watching your 10th episode of your favorite Netflix series.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Even if you wake up and realize that, I really don't like my reasons for staying up late last night. The crazy thing about the human brain is we somehow convince ourselves that if we extend ourselves compassion, we are going to not be motivated to do the work, right? Like we're giving ourselves permission to stay up late again. But actually, extending yourself compassion is what cushions failure. It's what allows us to say, you know what, that's okay. I see what happened there. Right. I'm going to give it another go tonight. I'm going to set my bedtime. I'm going to reorganize myself a little bit to make sure I show up differently today versus the shame and the blame, which makes us feel like hell. And when we feel like hell, how do we think?
Yeah.
Kind of the same.
Yeah.
Right? We don't think in our best, most helpful ways. And then we stay in this loop of thinking like crap and feeling like crap and thinking like crap and feeling like crap. And actions that help you to honor self-care are not born of that.
Explain that a little bit more.
Actions that honor self-care are born out of respect for yourself and what you're here to cause and contribute and inspire in the world.
Yeah.
Right? Self-care, honoring self-care is inspired by the vision you have for your life and what you want to feel more of. But you can't, and I know there's a lot of, this is like a cliche, but we always hear you can't hate your way healthy. You literally can't. Now, can you get thin? Can you hate your way thin? Absolutely. I see that done all the time.
Right.
But you can't hate your way healthy. So again, appearing healthy and being healthy are two very different animals.
Right. Absolutely. And I want to get into your 5-day challenge coming up. Your healthiest year yet, because I'm really excited about this. You're just coaching. Oh, it's just so good. But I want to tell you a quick story, if I may.
Sure.
I have done EMDR in 2021. Are you familiar with EMDR?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. So for those of you who don't know, it's this like rapid eye movement technique that therapists can use to help you heal from traumatic events or things that have happened in your life and sort of reprogram them. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on was my relationship with my body in one of these sessions. And so how many times are we angry with our bodies and blame our bodies and shame our bodies and tell it, all of these negative things. And so in this EMDR session, I started off with this negative feeling about my body. And what I got back, and this, it was really powerful. So basically your subconscious sort of brings up messages, and then the therapist will stop you every 20, 30 seconds. I'm not sure how long it is, and ask you what you're getting. But the long and short of it is my body literally spoke to me, I guess not literally, but spoke to me in this EMDR session and was like, you know what? Enough is enough. You keep blaming me for everything. You keep belittling me. All I have done for you is kept you safe, kept you healthy, kept you alive, kept you strong. And then it literally, my body in this messaging was like, I kept you healthy from potential breast cancer with the genetics I have. I birthed you 2 children, one of them 11 pounds. I have been strong for you. I have shown up for you. I have been there for you every single second of every single day. And all you do is treat me this way. And it was the most powerful thing I had ever done in regards to my body. And then I made a pact with my body during the EMDR session that before I eat things or before I do things or before I engage in things, I will stop and literally say out loud, what do you need? Mm-hmm. And sometimes my body's like, I want that chocolate, mm-hmm. But sometimes my body's like, just get an orange, please. We don't need that. And so creating this relationship, 2022 for me is all about healing. And I know with that sometimes comes weight loss, but it's all about healing my relationship with my body, appreciating it, respecting it. And then the key that you teach is showing up and doing what I told myself I would do. And someone in the group even commented about this like personal integrity, where we say we want these things and then we don't show up in our lives to actually do those things. Can you talk a little bit about that? You call it integrity pains, right?
I call it integrity pain. Yeah. And integrity pain, getting ourselves out of integrity pain, healing integrity pain really is the pathway to health. Like, I'm such a firm believer of that. So integrity pain is when our actions are misaligned with what we want for our life. Right? So it's and here's the thing, to know what you want for your life, you've got to spend time with yourself. You've got to get to know yourself.
Right.
You've got to not just think about your life, but feel your life, right? Like your experience of being in your body mm-hmm. communicating with your brain. Like that communication is happening all the time. And so when we spend time with ourselves and get to know ourselves better, it's so much easier to start leading ourselves out of integrity pain. Mm-hmm. So what are the promises that we keep making to ourselves? Why are we making the promises? That's really important to know. Mm-hmm. And then how can I structure my life in a way to keep those promises? And will it be linear and perfect? No. Will it be uncomfortable? Yes. Will you have to do things that you're probably not all that competent at doing? Absolutely. And if we're not willing to lean into those discomforts, mm-hmm. we're never going to get ourselves out of integrity pain. Right? I'm not saying you have to suffer, but think about like what it took for you to build this community, right?
Yeah.
Or what it took for you to have a marriage that's lasted how many years?
19.
How long? Yeah, 19 years.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of uncomfortable moments where you rumble. That's what mm-hmm. you choose to do because you know you're in it for the long haul. So you feel the emotions. And you decide what the next right step is. Mm-hmm. You communicate with the other person or with yourself on how to move forward more wisely.
Right.
And that's what takes you into a healthier place in those relationships. And it's the same with our bodies. It's the same with our physical, mental, and emotional health. Is we have to be asking really good questions. We have to be willing to get uncomfortable and trust that based on the best of what you know right now, you really do know the next right step.
Yeah.
But a lot of us have convinced ourselves that we don't know the next right step. It has to be something really big and wildly complicated, which is actually a terrible idea because when we pick complicated, the brain freaks out quite literally. Your amygdala, which is kind of your earliest formed part of your brain, starts to freak out and says, no, this is a terrible idea. Your life is at risk. So we have to stay in what Susan David, who is the author of Emotional Agility, calls mm-hmm. our state of whelm. If we create strategies for improving our lives that overwhelms our brain, we're never going to take action.
Right.
But also if we underwhelm ourselves, that doesn't bode well for progress either. So it's really about finding our state of whelm, which the honest to God truth is nobody can find for you.
Right. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Isn't that interesting though, that there are probably, someone listening right now, it's like, I know what I need to do to feel good in my body. Like, and I'm again, not talking weight loss, just to feel good in my body. And then there's the messaging because, it's January 5th. So, this new program and that new program, and they intentionally catch us when we are not solid in what it is that we want or how we want to show up. And so the marketing, is brilliant, right? It's a new year, a new you, and, forget new you, like the you are is amazing. The you are is exactly where you should be. So I love this, like looking within. I mean, guidance is amazing. I love that they have the opportunity, if they want to use you as a guide, to enjoy your free challenge we're going to talk about, and to enjoy even your community for the next year. Like what a great commitment to oneself to get involved and be with other women who are committed to their health. You do not need to be shamed and judged and treated as if you are less than if you don't have a certain number on your genes or on your scale. Like, it's such bullshit. I can't even. Yeah. And as I get older, like I'm 50 now, I'm calling it all out. You know? But at the same time, when I say that, I also believe that we have a commitment to ourselves, that a grown-ass woman shows up and she makes a commitment to herself, because I might be 50 today, but in 2 minutes, I'm going to be 60. In 2 minutes after that, I hope to be 70. So what am I going to do today to give me the best life? Not just live longer, but the best life while I'm here. You know, and it sounds, I'm only 50, but shit happens, right? And so
but what's interesting about that, Jackie, is that I just want to say this really quickly, is that, you know, so often when we're looking at improving our health, we're not looking to our future, we're looking to our past. This is the body I used to have. Therefore, that is what it should still be. And then we race back to the measures that, you know, we were doing at that time, or things that just don't even fit into our life right now as who we are at this age and stage of life. And so this is why I always say, like, health is about being future oriented, like putting your healthiest years ahead of you rather than referencing your past.
Yes.
To try to recreate something that's really just robbing you of what possibly could be, right?
Yeah, that made me a little bit emotional, because I see women every day, and I don't know if she's still here, but I'm going to call out my sister right now, who is on, like, my sister is 60, and, you know, she's a twin, and our sister died at 58, her twin sister. And, you know, we all have the opportunity to go, F it, you know, these are the cards. This is the life. She's running. She's so healthy. She's like changed her life and she seems so much happier and so much more aligned with who she is. And, you know, sorry, Mary, for calling you out, but there's so much opportunity out there. There's so much just opportunity and space for you to be who you truly want to be, and not looking back at your 30-year-old self or your 20-year-old self. And that really made me emotional, because I think that's what many of us are doing, is looking back and not looking forward.
Definitely. And like, I love what you said earlier too, like there's an acceptance of who we are right now in this moment that has to happen in order for us to move forward. It's not that you're creating an entirely new identity, but think about what identity is. Like, who you are right now is a culmination of all the things you've been practicing. That's what shapes our identity. And so it makes a lot of sense that if there's something different you want for your life, you have to start embedding some new practices into your life to change certain parts of your being. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not saying like you're not 100% worthy right now and amazing and lovable and all the things, because you absolutely are. But what is it? The Elizabeth Gilbert quote that I feel like I say this all the time, but it's such a good one. She says, you get to be a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously.
So good.
Right? And isn't that a recipe for health? Like, I get to acknowledge how amazing and wonderful and lovable and awesome and creative I have been to this point in my life and absolutely am today.
Yeah.
And I get to test the waters of my possibility because it's fun.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's
beautiful.
fun to sort of to evolve your life and expand your life.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I always say that health is an exercise in expansion. It's not an exercise in shrinking. And what I mean by that is we have to expand our thinking and our capacity to feel and our willingness to lean into discomfort to change our life.
Right.
So health is not about getting smaller physically. It may be for some people, but as a whole, it's an expansion.
Right. I love that. So tell us about your 5-day challenge, because I see a lot of 5-day challenges and this and that and the other thing. And like, if you're listening still and you're like, wow, she's really smart and she's not going to shame me into losing weight, hopefully you got that already. But there is so much more to Courtney and your coaching. And so what would one expect to join if they were to join your free, by the way, 5-day challenge?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we start on Monday. So it starts on January 10th and it runs for 5 days. And I always put this disclaimer out there. This is not a fitness challenge. This is not a diet challenge. This is about you acknowledging what health really means to you at this age and stage of life.
Yes.
Right? Because for one person, it might mean being able to go on a hike with their grandkids this summer, right? And for someone else, it might look like having more confidence at work. Again, it usually doesn't have, like, when we really think about it, it's not about the weight loss. It's about what we want to feel on the other side of the weight loss. So we get clear on that. What is this really about for you? And then we start to get really honest with ourselves about where the gaps are. How would I need to move through the world differently in order to create that for my life? Right? And we don't like to be honest with ourselves because we have to lift up the rug and look at all the dirt we've been shoveling under there for a lot of years. Right? I always say awareness is not a feel-good exercise. Like, it's kind of like, well, crap, right? It's like opening the closet you've been shoving stuff in for years, like my child's bedroom. But awareness is acceptance of what is, right? And we can't change without really acknowledging where we currently are.
Right.
So once we identify the gaps, we get to decide on the next right step for us based on the best of what we currently know. So I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not saying, okay, Jackie, this is exactly what you're going to eat tomorrow in this amount. This is how much you're going to exercise. This is what time you're going to go to bed. I'm not your parent, right? You need to be your parent. You need to lead yourself if you want to create sustainable change. And leading yourself starts with making strong decisions and recognizing there is no right decision. You know what makes a decision right is you decide for it to be right. And when you make a decision, one of two things happens. You either move closer to the outcome you want, you move closer to the direction you wanted to travel, or you move in the opposite direction. Either way, you're either progressing or you're learning. But if you don't decide, and this is where so many women live, in a space of indecision, because they're afraid of making the wrong decision. So when we don't make decisions, we don't move anywhere. We don't get to learn. We don't get to progress. We just like sit still. We stagnate. And you know what stagnation is? Stagnation is a place that things go to die. So we want to take action so we can learn or we can progress. And then we have to expect that there will be obstacles and challenges and curveballs and failures because there always are. Always, it's life. So how we show up in the face of those things has everything to do with whether or not we will actually stay the course. So this is where we actually pursue failure on purpose, which just basically means we lean into creation, things that we want for our health that sometimes feel impossible. For where you are right now, it might feel impossible for you to go on a 20-mile hike this summer. But who would you become by pursuing that thing? What skills would you have to develop to get closer to achieving that? Even if you can't quite get there, you'd be in such a better place, right? Because you would still develop a lot of things about yourself. So ultimately, this whole challenge next week is all about self-leadership. How do we enter the health arena and the health conversation from a space of self-leadership rather than from a space of outsourcing it to somebody else? This is not something that we talk about in the health world, like in the fitness and diet culture especially. It's all about you follow what I say and you'll get these results. And it's like, but that doesn't embody health, nor is it sustainable.
Right.
Because you're not learning how to be different in the world in terms of how you're thinking and your emotions and all the things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And so if someone's listening right now and they're like, this sounds amazing, sign me up, what is it going to look like? Like, people are, I start negotiating with myself, right? Like the other day, I didn't want to get on the bike. And I started the negotiations of like, oh, but I have between 2 and 2:05, or, I just start telling myself all these stories of when I'm going to do it. And then I could hear that little voice that was like, get on the bike. Like, you're spending more time negotiating with yourself than you'd be done right now. So stop it. And so I stopped it and I got on the bike. But if someone's listening right now and they're like, this sounds amazing, but I don't have 5 days. I don't have 5 days next week to commit to my health. What does it actually look like to join this challenge?
Yeah. Well, first of all, we've tackled all of your rationalizations and negotiations, right, in the way that we've set up this event. So the way it works is once you register, you actually get access to my online classroom, where we will be housing all of the daily lessons. So if you cannot come to the live lessons, which I'll be teaching on Facebook, I have a community that is set up specifically for this event. And every day I will be going live in the morning. I believe it's 8:00 a.m. Mountain Time. I'll be going live for no more than 30 minutes to talk about the lesson of the day. And then if you can't be there live, you'll just watch the lesson later in the classroom. And we have, of course, a little workbook that goes along with this. And I gamify every event I ever do because it always keeps it more fun. So every day I give away prizes to keep you engaged and keep you doing the work. And there's a lot of opportunity for you to ask questions and get clarification. But the whole point of this event is to really start thinking about health differently. Because when we think about health differently, we start going about honoring it differently. So I know that if a woman really gets her head in the right place for what she wants to create this year, she's so much more likely to stay the path, right? To stay that course versus let's, lose 5 pounds in the next 5 days, right? Or whatever other challenges we hear about all the time. Great. But how are we going to stay that course if we don't have the skill sets to actually do that? So this is kind of an introduction to my work, but definitely the most important pieces for you to travel through this year with a lot more ease and grace, especially in the health arena.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even my dogs agree. I don't know if you can hear them.
I just heard mine outside too a minute ago. Yeah.
They're going crazy. Awesome. So I included the link in the comments. I'm also going to send out an email to anyone who missed this and wants to hear this amazing chat and to join you, because there's really nothing to lose to just go over there and join Courtney, join me. I'll be there. To just, at the very least, if you're on the right path already, to sort of reset your mindset, to get, remind yourself why you want to be your healthiest, why you want more for yourself in your life. Courtney's coaching is so much more than, the mindset piece, the mental piece, all of the stuff that you teach, I'm telling you, it's like nothing else I've ever seen, because it's not all about your physical body. It's not about go for a walk for 2 miles a day. Like, yeah, we can do those things. And, we should move our bodies. Like, it's science, there's really nothing to argue with that. But what you teach is not about that. And to me, so I show up for my workouts because I'm happy to move my body. Like, I have to move my body now, you know? So what were we going to say?
Because it changes your chemistry, right? And when your chemistry feels stable and feels like it's allowing you to show up in the way that you want to show up, you don't just show up in the health arena differently, you show up everywhere differently. Yes. So the way that I teach is very different, mainly because I don't isolate the conversation of health. I don't just talk about stabilizing chemistry, which of course we talk about that, but we embody the health conversation, which means we talk about chemistry, stabilizing it, what that means for you. We talk about the strategies that you're using to try to create change in your life, because a lot of women are using strategies that are setting themselves up for failure. So we work a lot on strategy. And then the 2 other things that we work really heavily on is parenting your brain, right? Because our brain does some really wild things and tries to convince us of a lot of nonsense. So we take agency over that. And then we also develop emotional agility, which is the willingness to just feel the hardship, not live in it, not marinate in it, but allow it to be in our presence, learn from it, and then decide how we want to move forward. So those 4 skill sets are really the meat and the potatoes of what I teach: chemistry, strategy, mindset management, and emotional agility. Because I think all of those things, not one of those things is more important for health than any other. Not sustainable health.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And so please, I'm inviting you to join Courtney next week. It's free. If you're like, yes, that sounds amazing, and I want to be part of Courtney's community of women, seriously, you teach more master classes and coaching calls, and I am in that community. It's so robust. I've never seen anything like it. I'll also include the link to that just in case they're like, yes, I want to do this and I want to do this because I'm ready. I just want to make sure that I share that as well. If not, just go to the free event.
Yeah, and I will be talking more. I'll talk more about Rumble and Rise inside the event for sure. Okay. But the other thing I just want to remind your listeners of is that even if you've registered for next week's event and you can't participate on any level, you will still have access for the rest of the year to the online classroom where all of this content is housed.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is like a meaty thing. This isn't like 5 days and poof, if you didn't like sear it into your brain, it's done. This is, I want to really help you get traction, which is why I'm doing the live component. But then we house it all because you're probably going to want to refer to it again at some point in the future. The other thing is, by registering for this event, I give you immediate access to an entire another 5-part video series that we have, which is called 5 to Thrive, which is all about that stabilizing your chemistry piece that we talked about. So this really, like, if you register, you're getting information, a lot of support and education that you may not use next week, but you may use it sometime this year.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because I had no idea that we all have access for a year. That's amazing. For the rest of this year, I should say, because there are people, I'm sure, who want this and just are not in a place quite yet. So that's amazing, because, meet people where they are and take them along when they're ready. Right.
Yeah. And I feel at the start of this year, there's a little bit of a lag, right? Where I feel like people are still, working to get traction. We've had a really intense couple of years. We're kind of entering the year cautiously. And I completely understand that when people hear like 5-day event, they're like, whoa, that sounds like way too much. But again, the way we have set it up, I promise you it will not overwhelm you. You can show up
just the right amount of whelm. Perfect.
Totally. We're going to keep you in your state of whelm.
Courtney, thank you so much for this. I know we went over because I cannot get enough of everything you have to say. And so I just really appreciate your joining me again. Like I said, I will link to all of the episodes we have done together. And, make sure you head over and register for that event, whether you can show up live or you want to do it in the summer or you want to listen later. Like, it's totally up to you. So thanks, Courtney.
Yep. Oh, thank you, my friend. I love spending time with you.
You too. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Oh my gosh. So that's it. That's all we have today. Let me know what you think in the comments. I am going to also make this a podcast episode because she's just so phenomenal, right? I mean, thank you to Courtney, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
If Courtney's message resonates with you the way it resonates with me, join me. I'm going to be there for her free 5-day challenge starting on January 10th. It is super powerful. The link is in the description for this episode, and I will see you there. Until then, you are a grown-ass woman. Act accordingly. Spring has sprung, and with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Coconut. Coconut is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner. Naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Kokonu. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/Kokonu.